One time I was sitting at the camp, I swear I thought Caesar from Planet of the Apes was coming out of the forest.
Thanks for coming back to Bigfoot Society, your weekly cryptozoology-focused podcast where I talk to a different individual in the cryptozoology field, authors, researchers, artists, all sorts of people. If you're listening to this on iTunes, please go ahead, subscribe to this podcast and rate us 5 stars, as it helps us get more into the podcast stratosphere and get better guests on the show. Also, if you're on YouTube, do us a favor, like this video and subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost a thing, and it helps us get out there into the YouTube stratosphere as well. Be sure to leave what your favorite part of the episode was in the comment. Welcome back to the Bigfoot Society podcast. This week I have the pleasure of talking to a new friend, Mr. Mike Casey from Eastern Washington State. Mike is a Bigfoot researcher, newer to the field, but has already had some great connections and really cool experiences researching in places that you'll probably recognize if you're familiar to the Bigfoot research phenomenon and culture. So definitely an enjoyable interview as we talk about all sorts of things, looking in places such as Mount Saint Helens area, Mount Adams, Bluff Creek, and just a really, really fun chat talking to someone that I've wanted to talk to for a long time, and I think you'll enjoy making this connection by listening to the interview as well. So sit back, enjoy, and listen to this interview I had with Mike Casey, Bigfoot researcher from Eastern Washington. All right, welcome back to the Bigfoot Society podcast. I have the privilege of talking with a new friend, Mike Casey from Eastern Washington. Correct, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Nice to meet you, man. Let's go a little bit about what your background is. You've given a pretty awesome bio here, so I'm going to go ahead and go through that and kind of give us a view of where we're going tonight. So Mike Casey is a Bigfoot enthusiast located in southeastern Washington. He's been a paranormal investigator for the past 7 years, and in 2021, he switched gears into the Bigfoot realm. He grew up in the Truckee, Lake Tahoe area, as well as around the Santa Cruz mountains, and always enjoys the time spent in the woods. He is a very eager and adventurous soul, always itching to get out into the field. He's taken expeditions into a few different areas, which we will talk about in a bit. I won't spoil the surprise there, what they are. He has many plans this summer of different locations and looks forward to sharing the journey. So let's get into it, Mike. So you're in the southeast Washington area, and we'll start with this. So when I think of Bigfoot in Washington, I'm thinking of more maybe the Olympic Peninsula, but is that not the case? Are we really looking at squatchy areas in the southeast as well?
Farther east is the Blue Mountains. I actually have not made it that far yet. I'm in Richland, so the Tri-Cities area. But there are reports down here. I got 3 little kids, and the oldest, she's 3, so she's all about the Bigfoot, and my 2-year-old, he's all about Kong. So we go watching down by the Columbia River. There were some reports that are on the BFRO website, so we figured one weekend, it's like, why not? So there's stuff to do around here, but we just moved up here last August, so we're new to the area. Still trying to get my treads on the ground, figure out the zones, areas, meet people. I was planning on going to one event in January, but then my 3rd baby was born, so we have another event we're going to in the Forks, Washington, the first annual Sasquatch Days.
Cool.
I'm going to take Ellie up there, and I'm super excited to meet everyone at that event. Super jazzed. Everybody I've talked to in this community, the Bigfoot community, has been so open and welcoming, and it's something that I'm not too used to from the previous history, as we'll get into that. I come from the paranormal background, and very, very rubby shoulders, and so for a community to be so open and just like literally being able to just send out an email or an Instagram chat and be like, hey, so I saw this article or this documentary, or I read this book And you were mentioned in it, and I have some questions, or could you point me to some areas, or just give me any kind of feedback or history lessons? I'm a big history guy, so right now, so new that I'm trying to just get my bearings
Mm,
and learn as much as I can. I'm getting out in the field, but it's. I mean, I got kids, I got work, so it's
I
not.
get it. I
It's,
get it, man.
I
It's
get out
tough,
as much
right?
as I
Yeah.
can.
Yeah,
But
totally. Oh, man. What was the factor that made you switch from, the one what was it that drew you to the field of Bigfoot? That might be a good way to
I've
put it.
always been into nature
Okay.
outside. Growing up in the Lake Tahoe, Truckee area, I mean, mountains, lakes. I wasn't into Bigfoot then, which I was bummed about now, because I heard about the stories. I had a chemistry teacher that spouted off stories about one in South Tahoe, and that was a quick ride drive down Highway 89 south for me. But I never went and checked it out. It was just a cool story. Um, but the big switch I would say from the paranormal world, because I I try and base it off years, but I don't even really remember when I first started, like what year. A bad time in my life when I first started all that.
Mm.
Um, but I was in that for a bunch of years, and then I tried kind of like weaned off. I spoke at paranormal conferences.
Oh,
I've been
wow.
on Ghost Adventures. I've been on a few shows like
What?
Amazon has. Well,
Mike.
I should say
Oh,
there's
Mike.
a still image of me on Ghost Adventures. I
No,
wasn't
it counts.
interviewed.
It
I've
absolutely counts.
met. It was cool. The places I got to go and visit were definitely fun, but it's pricey. It's like,
Is it
hey,
really?
spend
Yeah.
$200, and that's a group pot.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
hey, everybody pitch in 200, and we'll have one night at this
This yeah,
ramshackle
like
barn
right,
or
right, right.
shack,
Yeah.
and it's I don't know. I could do that, or I could spend $60 at most on food and
Yep.
camping and a campsite or gas.
I love it.
So
That's a good way to look at it for sure.
yeah, and with COVID hitting, it wasn't like, hey,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to go sit in a building with all you people. I'm going to go out with my family to the woods and go camping. And
Makes sense.
that's what kind of just it grew.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Now the book, the library has grown, the t-shirt collection, the mug collection
It
has
did, right?
grown. Like no joke. My wife, she's going crazy with all my Bigfoot stuff.
Dude, you and me both. I've shared this. I've shared how maybe I haven't. I forget what I share on the podcast and what I share in conversations, which is not a good thing.
Yeah.
But, my wife had an intervention the other day where it's like, "Okay, you've got all your t-shirts are cryptid t-shirts." So, I'm like, "Well, I'm not getting rid of any." So,
Right.
you know,
Right.
I guess we need more space for t-shirts, but yeah,
Exactly. I brought that up. It's like, well, we have a bigger closet now,
that's
so
right.
we have more room.
So people keep on listeners, keep on sending t-shirts for sure.
Yeah, no, the t-shirts are awesome. I
Well,
got your
Mike,
Bigfoot. I didn't want to go, too much Bigfoot Society podcast. And they'd be like,
that's true.
but
Is that one of the, that's one of the classic, like, the mountain ones? Is that it?
that's it. Yep.
They have
I
great
love them.
Bigfoot stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
can't
good.
find the old one. There's one that was a couple years ago. Again, I'm into history, so I look back at the old shirts and see
Yep,
about eBay
yep,
and stuff. Yeah, there goes the mountain collection of Bigfoot
totally.
shirts. I actually got this in a size and it was too big, and my wife was
Mm.
pregnant at the time, so I was just like, "Here you go. I got another one on the way that's smaller."
That's awesome.
She wears it all the time.
So, Mike, a little background for listeners who so I've been wanting to talk to Mike for a while. Just so the main reason is it's hard it's hard to find people that have not gone everywhere. And if you can find so I just like I have, like this, I don't know if it's a sixth sense for cryptid Bigfoots people. And I'm like, I should talk to that person. I just have a
Yeah.
feeling, right? And I started seeing your name popping up everywhere and a lot of really interesting comments and stuff on social media. And I was like, I want to be the guy that
I
talks to
don't
this
know this.
guy first. Yeah. So no,
Cool.
it's nothing weird, but um
Okay.
you've been talking to a lot of people about a lot of really interesting things, and like I've saw well, I believe it's one of the ones that we'll talk about, but you've taken some interesting expeditions already, and I'd love to talk about those.
Mhm.
But the main reason I found, I believe you were talking to Mark Marcel in some comment thread, and I was like, this is cool, and this guy's in other places. And then this is before,
Yeah.
I will say, full disclosure, Mike is a Patreon supporter as well, which I totally appreciate. But I've been trying to talk to you for a while, buddy.
Hey,
So
yeah.
let's talk. What's it like getting to the Bluff Creek, that Bluff Creek area, so rich in history and like the mecca for Bigfooters? What was that?
Yeah. So I've made it to the creek. I've never made it to the
Okay.
actual site.
Okay.
Every time I've gone up there, of course, I've read the websites, and I'm amazing. I have a photographic memory. That's how I really don't get lost in those back roads and stuff. Like I
Yeah.
know which way I've come. But when I read a website and like the sources and stuff, I get all mixed up. But there was this one website where I found they had the whole directions, the lefts, the rights, the I can't even remember the
Oh wow.
forest road names, but like, and then you find Bigfoot stickers on all the signs pointing all the
Oh
way up
really?
there, so it helps.
Yeah, that does.
Um, so there's part in there that says gates are closed from like October
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
April or something because just the snow. I got into Bigfoot literally the trigger that hit was I think in November of 2019
Okay.
and no 2020. And so I got the itch. I wanted like that time I was living in Reno, Nevada. Bluff Creek, Willow Creek area was I think it was like a 7-hour drive. So I
Oh
was like, I got this.
yeah.
So I told my wife, I'm like, I'm packing up the cars. At that time I had 2 kids. I had Ellie and Wyatt. So I was just like, I want to go check this place out. So I packed up the truck and headed out, and I got to the gate. I camped at the gate that first time I went up there,
Oh wow.
and it's definitely a feeling of being watched in that zone. But
Right.
that might have been because that was my very first time actually going on a Bigfoot expedition,
So you're
and
maybe a little amped. Yeah.
when I go alone.
Okay. Okay.
I've gone with a couple people in the past, and it wound up being me camping for both of us.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought they would be able to handle themselves, know stuff, but it was just the first time miserable. The second time, the guy was complaining the whole time, and then we stumbled on the pot
That's not
farms.
good. That's not good.
No, it's and he wanted to go talk to the pot farmers, and I'm like,
Oh
"No,
yeah, you don't want
let's get
those.
out of
No.
here." Yeah, that was a big red flag, and I'm like,
I saw Sasquatch on Hulu. I know what those guys can do. I don't wanna,
"Yes."
you know.
Like, we're at this site, we're at this grow plant or operation.
Oh, man.
I'm literally spouting off this. My buddy's spouting off Murder Mountain, which was on Netflix or something.
Oh,
I,
yeah.
I'd never seen it, but he was just like, "Oh, these guys know how to do it, right?" And I'm like, "No, man."
"You what? I'm outta here, dude. Let's get out."
Yeah, and we saw fresh grow bags. We saw like an ATV. We heard voices. We were running from the. I was.
Oh,
It
so
was
you
too
were
scary.
around there while the dudes weren't there.
Yeah, yeah. We
You're
stumbled
taking
up.
your life in your hands, dude.
That was an intense.
Wow.
That was an intense trip. Like we were just driving the roads. It
Oh,
wasn't too much
good.
of a hiking because he's got a bad back. I have a bad back, but
Yeah.
we were just driving, and then we found this. I feel a little sketched to the details of this, but we found
Well,
something. We
how
pulled
about
off the
this?
road.
How about this, Mike, real quick? How about maybe not tell enough details to get,
Yeah,
you in trouble, and also for me to do a lot of editing. How about
yeah, that's true. Okay, so we stumble upon this area, and we're walking in the place.
alright.
I mean, it doesn't look like there's anybody there. It looks like old, abandoned, ramshackly stuff.
Yeah.
I have tons of pictures of the place because I'm literally thinking, "Oh, this is cool. Nobody's here." And then we wander up the road a bit,
Hmm,
and that's when we see the new grow plants and the bags, and then the
yikes.
ATV, and then we hear the voices, and then we're like hightailing it back to the truck. And I'm picturing like the
Wow.
sights on my back, like
Oh, no doubt, dude.
not cool.
The,
So
those
it's
guys,
definitely you got to know where to go,
yeah.
and
Oh
I don't
man.
know, like looking at the Google Earth image of that area, I should have known not to go up
You
there.
should know.
Like it's just it's plain as day, right out in the open. But that was intense.
Well, Mike, you're a lucky man, and that is a cautionary tale for any young
Yeah,
people
got me shaking all over
listening.
again. That
Yeah.
was intense.
Uh, yeah, just be careful out there and don't go poking around in the places you don't own because you might not be as lucky as
Seriously,
just
turn
saying.
away and walk away. Keep the Bigfooting.
Just walk away. Um, yeah, watch Sasquatch on Hulu. You'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Um,
but back to the Bluff Creek thing. So I
yeah.
camped out that first spot. It was more of a getting my bearings. I felt eyes on me. Uh, didn't hear anything. When I go camping, I'm not the minimalist. You
Mm,
probably saw in those camp photos. When I go,
okay.
it's sort of at this time, wherever my truck can go, that's where I'll put my stuff. I got a huge tent. I got the big family, so we only have
Nice.
big tents.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's like, I'll just luxury camp it when I'm bigfooting at the time, hoping to minimalize things. But I had the big setup right there at the gate. The second time I went was with a girl from the paranormal field that
Okay.
I knew. She actually, I'll say that she was the one that actually kind of got me interested in the paranormal stuff. We'd always talked at paranormal conferences and been like, "Oh,
Mm,
Bigfoot, Bigfoot!" Like we were
okay.
into it. So she came up with the idea to start a group, and sadly, the group's going, but I'm not a part of the group because
Gotcha.
I work best alone.
I gotcha.
Like sort of like as a solo. I don't know, not solo alone. Like I like to go out with people, but I don't like to be associated with a certain group.
I
I like the freedom
yeah.
of being able to do what I want to do.
Yep. Yep.
As simple as that, put it. Um, but that time we found stick structures.
Wow.
But potential stick structures. There was one stick structure that I don't know how a fallen over tree can weave
Mm,
between other trees. So that's the thing that confused me on that. And then there was some trail cam mystery stuff. Um, Something was missing. Should have taken a picture, but there was no pictures. Just the thing
oh, weird.
vanished.
Wow.
We put up these dinosaurs, and one of the dinosaurs was just gone. I spent 45 minutes of my life on the forest floor digging through the leaves and the
Oh
sticks
no.
trying to find this dinosaur toy, and I couldn't find it. So,
Wow.
but there's pictures of us like setting up the game camera, putting up the dinosaurs, walking away, and then coming back the next day.
That's wild.
So,
Oh
don't
man.
know what happened to that.
I saw you where you shared on Facebook the other day. You have a really interesting uh a few photos you captured just recently when you're out.
Hmm.
Do you mind talking about that? And then, people will have to check them out. You can tell them where to
Yes.
check out the photos, but yeah.
That was, again, being new to Washington.
Mhm.
Right now, my locations, like I've talked to a couple people. I've talked to Emily with the Forest Floor.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
She's hooked me up with a guy named Mike L.
Okay.
Huge shout out to him. I got some GPS places from him. He's helping. Uh, Shout out to Josh from PNW Bigfoot Maps.
Cool guy.
No joke. He
Cool.
has helped out so much.
Oh yeah.
Scott's app. I mean, you've had some seriously great guests on your show.
Thank you. And now I've got
um,
the best guest, Mike
oh,
Casey.
no,
No, but
too good. But no, so many people. Shane Corson from the Olympic Project. I hit
okay,
him
like,
up.
dude, everyone loves. I have to have Shane back on because, like, that's a long time ago, and
Yeah,
I was still trying to figure stuff out, and like everyone really likes that Shane Corson episode, but I'm like, when I was doing the episode, I was like, because I hadn't really like found, myself
yeah,
yet in the whole, so I gotta get Shane back on. So
dude,
yeah, I
it
think
was
that
the
would be awesome.
coolest
Can you
thing.
bring some?
I don't even remember what I first said. It was an Instagram, like, hey, I just moved up here.
Hmm,
I'd love some help and pointers or something like
nice.
that. And all of a sudden he's like, yeah, give me a call. Here's my number.
Wow.
I'm like,
Dude.
what? So
Yeah.
I'm like trying to figure out my schedule is like telling my wife, like, can you watch the kids? I have serious phone call, and I'm like sitting in my driveway in my camp
Ridiculous.
chair with like notepad and like, oh, and then my phone wouldn't call him, and then so I had to call him on Instagram or something like that.
Okay,
We
yeah.
talked that way, like, oh, but seriously, blown
Wow.
away with the kindness. And then
That's so
Derek
cool.
Randall's.
Oh,
Derek Randall's, he's right up there. Mind blown, the generosity of that. I mean, they've invited me up to the barn,
yeah. Okay.
and so I'm super thrilled to go see that. Hopefully, I'll get to go by there during the Forks Sasquatch days.
Sure.
They invited us over to stay there. I think they're doing a camp out, but A, I'll have my daughter Ellie, who's 3.
Mm-hmm.
B, it's a Saturday Sunday event, and I work Saturdays, so I got to go Sunday.
Totally got it. Yep.
But still, just the idea of the
So
offer is
cool.
just amazing. Mark Marcel.
Such a
So
nice guy.
that has to be my favorite, like the legend. Like, you know how you the question gets asked, like, what's your favorite Bigfoot legend or
Yeah.
history story? It's Ape Canyon. And of course, I don't know. My idea of Bigfoot evidence is like if I'm there and I witness it, then I'm a whole lot
Okay.
more leaning on the side of it happening.
Okay.
But I always approach things as like, what if it is? What if like
Hmm.
what if that actually did happen? Like what if I was there and I was witnessing it? I'm one for experiences. Like I've had some pretty crazy wild times in my days, and I'm always one for an experience. And so to put and again putting myself into the Fred Beck shoes
Right.
is just being there in that moment with these creatures descending and fighting them off.
Oof.
What a wild time. I
Nice.
mean,
Yeah.
and so I hit up Mark Marcel being like, hey, big question. I don't know how you accept people wanting to go up there or anything like that. And he posted something on being like going up there, and I
Yep.
was like, hey, do you
Remember
want help or assistance? Not looking for, I mean, I just
it.
want to be a fly on the canyon wall
Oh yeah.
in this sense. um and I hadn't heard from him in so long, and I was just like but then we just reconnected, or we just talked
Oh cool.
like 2 weeks ago, and we got at least the time of year. I think it's August or September. I think he's planning on going up.
Wow.
So pretty much those 2 months are blocked off. I don't have anything planned because
Heck
that
yes.
that's what I want to do.
Oh man. That's
But
great.
up until then, it's like 2 trips a month. I
Wow.
have Sunday, Monday, Tuesdays off of work,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm hoping to be able to take off. I got the kids though, so some trips will be kid friendly. Some kids or trips will be boondocks
There you go. And
out in the middle of nowhere.
good. That's a good mix, I think. It's
Yeah.
uh
Ellie, she's one that she's just itching every single day I get home from work.
awesome.
Hey, are we going camping? Are we going to go Bigfooting? It's like, where's Squatch? And
That's
so
good.
it's great.
Kids have that love for nature already.
Hmm.
I want to I want to loop back a little bit.
Yeah.
So the photos that we got really excited about Shane Corson for a second, which is
Yeah,
totally
we did.
understandable because yeah, I mean, if you're not, you need to check yourself.
They're just some
But
cool people. Oh,
so
such great guys.
the photo set that you had taken that you there's like some weird stuff going on with it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing that points out to me is, so the trail cam that I have, this is like the third or fourth time I've used it, so I'm still learning. Again, intro to Bigfooting, beginner. But it takes 2 pictures every time it detects motion. So when I'm going through the pictures, literally, so we went up to Bumping Lake 2 weeks ago and set the trail cam up in this little meadow that we found elk tracks in, just trying to see what we could find. Heard Bumping Lake's a great place. Um, so we figured give it a shot.
Right.
The pictures that have the figure object, that was from last September.
Okay.
That actually, I'm awful on like getting back from a camp trip, and I mean I still have stuff in the truck from that trip. Like it's sort of like I get back and it's a decompress, and I got the
Yep.
kids, and it's like, I don't know, I was that way with paranormal evidence too. It was just going over it if nothing significant happens, it's like
Gotcha.
the last on my radar. But anyway, so I'm going through the pictures of Bumping Lake, and then I'm realizing, oh, I have the from the it was somewhere in the Dark Divide, somewhere up. I don't know what this is. Um, I don't know what just happened. I'm sorry.
You're good.
So again, throwing darts at a map. That's sort of how I'm aiming.
Oh,
I'm
interesting.
a huge fan of the Mount Saint Helens, Mount Adams,
Okay.
Mount Rainier, that little area. There's a book called Where Bigfoot Walks, and that
Yes.
book has got me in that little area. I don't know. It just that I love it. It was beautiful. And so I went up there and I had these few spots on my GPS map that I was like, oh, I'll try this spot. I get there. Nah, this doesn't look good. So I'll hop in the truck and I drive to a different spot. Nah, there's too many people around here. So I hop in the truck, drive to a different spot. It takes up gas,
Mm-hmm.
but you see the area. I saw a lot of the base of Mount Adams and Mount St. Helens, like that little gulch. I was pretty much all over the mountains. And I wound up getting lost. When you're out there, you have GPS, but
Right.
as soon as you take away from the GPS screen, you lose everything. Like you
Mhm.
can't re-get that little pin or I haven't done the Hunt X, the downloaded maps yet. I haven't
Okay.
figured that out. So I realized like I get out and I take a picture and that's what exits the GPS screen. So I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, I'm looking at my gas tank and it doesn't
Oh
work
no.
properly. So I'm gauging by like the mileage and everything. And so I wind up just Hail Mary. I go down the road and I turn left and I cross this concrete bridge over a riverbed
Yeah.
up the mountain. And that's where this campsite was.
Wow.
So it was total luck of the draw. When I got out of there, it literally was, I had to remember it was a one road up and down to the top of this mountain.
Oh my goodness.
I had to remember that I turned left in there, so when I get out, I turn right. I mean, that's how I navigated my way out of there. It was, but I saved. I mean, I heard some or Shane Corson's document, document, document. So
Right.
I had the GPS coordinates. I still have that written on my little notepad. So like,
Okay.
it didn't save the pin on my phone, but I looked it up, and it's just that picture alone makes me at least want to go give it another try.
And you've got that. So then I think we're talking about the same picture. Is you can literally see there's some sort of like a dark figure ish something in the back. It's really hard to
Yeah,
explain what it is.
totally thought or forgot that
Something,
we didn't
some
even go
anonymous.
over that. So yeah, I have a trail cam pointing at my tent and my campsite, sort of as like the security cam. I walked around again. Shane Corson says, assert your presence, make your presence known.
Mm,
Set up camp, walk around, and then at night just kind of hang out at camp. So that's what I did. Set up everything. Forgot my rain tarp, so that's or the rain fly for the tent. That's why I have the tarp over it. And it looks a little. Mm. Um, but I take off for a couple hikes. I sat at the camp. One time I was sitting at the camp. I swear I thought Caesar from Planet of the Apes was coming
whoa.
out of the forest. I
Really?
mean, it was one noise.
Okay.
I let it go for a couple of seconds, and then I got up from my camping chair and ran over to the recorder and time stamped it, took a picture, screenshotted the time of day, and then I sat back in the chair and I just kind of waited because it would. I mean, it sounded like a chimpanzee.
Okay. I was gonna ask you, like,
I
so
mean, yeah.
huge noise type thing. Wow.
Yeah, I would. I mean, again, I don't know if it's the I don't know what they call it. Cliff Barrickman has the term. It's the Sasquatch brain, Bigfoot on the brain,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
where it's like you're just there and you're just looking and you're hoping that that's like you're sort of hyper focused almost, and it's
Yep,
like
yep.
anything will sound like it or anything will look like it. That's what I chalked it up to. I listened to the audio and it sounds more birdish, but again, I don't know audio. I've tried Audacity.
Mm,
I'm not a tech savvy guy. I don't know how to do the layers or remove stuff or
yeah.
amplify or I don't know all that stuff. So I don't know. I re-listened to it. It sounds like a bird to me. But then I saw the picture last weekend, and as I'm going through it on my laptop, I'm just speed scanning because it's just a bunch of pictures of me around camp. I remember there was these birds flying up and down that just would not leave me alone.
Hmm.
Like these blue jays, stellar jays.
Oh, sure. Yep.
Yeah, it's like they'd never met a human. Those guys, they'd come up and have a chip. They ate my bacon right off my plate. It was, yeah. But
That's funny.
but yeah, so I'm speed scrolling, and all of a sudden, like, I see that black figure or this
Yeah, it's weird.
thing in the background of the tent between the trees and stuff, and there's a string of lights. I kind of do an ambiance type thing when I go camping, so I have like these battery powered fairy lights that I hang up from trees, and at nighttime it's sort of just uh, backdrop silhouette. If I'm in the tent and something walks in between those lights
Mhm.
and the tent, I'll see the silhouette. So that was sort of my idea of having those lights set up. So that's what is hanging in the picture.
Okay.
But yeah, there's this weird black thing, and
It's
the
weird.
best, I mean, there's this weird appendage thing coming off the side. So I mean, I'm not saying it's a Sasquatch, but it's something. It's
And it's not in the other it's not in the other photos.
yeah, and it
It's the
takes as
weird
yeah, it takes two
yeah,
pictures. So if you look at if you go to the pictures or the Facebook page,
yeah.
and look at those, the timestamps, you'll see the picture that
Mm.
it took the two, and I mean, this 1 second it's there, and the next second it's gone. So
Wow. It's so weird. And,
yeah,
I'll have it linked in the show notes, because that's on your, you have, like, a researcher page on Facebook, I wanna
it's
say?
actually yeah, I do have that Facebook, the Mike Casey Bigfoot
Yeah.
researcher, but I actually just post most stuff on my
Okay.
personal. I was actually thinking of ixnaying that page because it's just something else I need to manage. And
That's
my personality, it's
I
an
have no idea.
very addictive personality. So when I go for something, it's like that. So my Facebook page is pretty much all Bigfoot anyway. So
Fair enough. I'll I'll have you tell me afterwards what you want, notated in there, and I'll
yeah,
make sure people get to it. So,
cool. Yep.
um, man, so I gotta ask you, well, first, it's cool you went to uh,
Bumping Lake.
Bumping Lake, because that's the same, that's where Tate's gonna, do his
Yes.
documentary, right? So
Yeah. I literally, I mean, so I have these notes like with the people
yeah,
like I want to give credit to Tate Anonymous,
okay.
Alex Petrikov, Eli Watson. Eli I have not talked to,
He's a good
but
guy.
Alex and Tate I have chatted with
Oh,
pretty
cool.
good
So
because I
nice.
watched the Bluff Creek episode of Beyond the Trail, and I mean I came up on a rock slide.
Mm,
The memories of that, I'm just, I mean, I don't know. I see the similarities, and of course I just take that leap and be like, hey, how's it going? I'm Mike.
totally.
So
That
that's how I
that's
met
good, man.
Alex and Tate. And Tate, yeah, support the GoFundMe. I think it would be an amazing documentary. It'd
Totally.
be super cool. I love all the work that all those guys put into their films. I get up at 4:30 every morning. It's just like this get after it mentality for me, and
Yep.
that's also the time that the kids are all and everybody's asleep. So I
I
get
get
my
it.
coffee and
Yeah.
all that. I throw up YouTube on the big screen and I'm watching all the documentaries and watching all the films, and it's like
That's
5 a.m. and I'm hitting up Alex like, I oh that rock slide was intense. Like, oh, the pheromone idea is brilliant. Like, all of it was super
it's a
cool.
great
And the
idea
coolest,
for sure.
yeah, all of it is. I don't know. It's fun to watch uh, and learn from so many different people.
Mhm.
Um, Going back to the paranormal stuff, it was like a small knit group that I was in, and that's where the bumping shoulders happened, and it just I'll leave it at
Yeah,
that.
it's definitely like,
It-
you have to be meaningful and mindful when it comes to community, because, like, some people might listen to this and be like, "Oh, the Bigfoot, cryptozoology field is all, like, roses and people being nice and high fives. Well, it's not, because you
Yeah.
can find a bunch of places on the internet where people are not very nice to each other. But if you make the mindful decision to help others out, shine the light on others, help the community be a better place for encouragement, it will then that will spread, and
Hmm.
it'll just be a different playing field. And right now it's a very unique time, I think. But Mike, I'm curious, let's say someone it doesn't know a lot about Bigfoot and they hear you're into it and they're like, okay, well, Mike, like, tell me, I don't really know what Bigfoot is. Like, what is Bigfoot to you?
Ooh. With me being so new to it, I've come up with this saying, and
Okay.
it's people don't know what to do with it. It is what it is. That's what I kind of label Bigfoot as. I'm so new into it, and I'm learning. It seems like every week something in my mind about Bigfoot changes, and I'm huge into the, like, it's a physical
Mm,
relic hominid
okay.
that's just branched off. And I mean, imagine from day one being born into the forest, and then the only thing to be taught or to learn is survive,
Mm,
stay hidden, and that's it.
that's wild. Yeah.
That's the two things you got to focus on for Sasquatch.
Mm.
And so a 5-year-old with that sort of training, I'm sure can stay hidden in a forest. Um, so I definitely think that they're so much more evolved in that sense of survival in the woods and in extreme climates and weather and stuff like that. Caves is something that's on my list to check out because of all the lava tubes up here.
Oh, yeah, around, yep,
Um,
Saint
I
Helens.
read Ken Gerhard's book.
He's so good.
I think it's the Field Guide to Bigfoot.
It's such a good book. Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and I hit him up right after I got done reading that, or I think I was midway through it when he brought up the caves, and I was like, "Hey, caves, huh?" And so
Yeah.
welcoming. He hit me up, being like, "Yeah, let
Nice
me look
guy.
into that."
He's so
And
nice.
so yeah, another shout out. But there's just so much that goes along with it that I think, to me, it is what it is the best description I could give, because
That's very interesting.
so dabbling in the paranormal field, I've seen things. Friends of mine have been overpowered by
Mm,
something. So
wow.
I know that there's stuff around us that we don't see. Ron Moorhead, the quantum Bigfoot, that
Interesting gentleman for sure.
what?
That was a fun
um,
interview, man.
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
That one I've listened to like 4 times, I wanna
Oh,
say.
really? Oh, wow.
He's like, no joke.
That's good.
Oh,
It's good, man. Yeah.
yeah, just the ideas that he's come up with. And so the paranormal, no, coming from the ghost side, my view of spirits and ghosts are a different dimension. They go to a different dimension, and they see us like we see them.
Mm,
That's again what I've witnessed and kind of have experienced in my own ghost hunting adventures.
sure.
But when I read Quantum Bigfoot and I'm listening to Ron Moorhead and he's
Yeah.
talking about going into different dimensions,
Yeah.
portals. I mean, it's a little bit woo, or it's a big woo, but
Okay.
then also,
Mike, I
yeah,
think we need
no,
to talk about a little bit of woo, which is not a negative thing to say.
yeah, no, no, but that's where
Is it?
I'm at. Is I have no
Yeah.
idea, because it's like I come from that background, but then also the physical old relic
Yeah.
evolved a different way that dabbles in. So
Totally.
it's ever changing in my mind. I don't think I'll ever set, until it's once discovered and studied. I don't think I'll ever actually settle on anything.
What do you think? Do you think there's going to be a certain turning point where science is like, okay, we give Bigfoot's real, weirdos, like, what do you
I
think's gonna? Do you think there's something that's going to push it over the edge, or?
I don't know. So the missing 411 books
Okay.
have got that think tank going on, like the government and stuff,
Sure.
releasing things, letting us know it's like, hey, UFOs are real, and these
Yeah.
guys.
When is like the massive Bigfoot disclosure? Because we've had
Yeah,
massive UFO disclosure over the last year or so.
yeah.
Or let's say UFO is in the news a lot, right? UFOs.
Hmm.
When is it going to be like Bigfoot deluge out of nowhere? I want that to happen. My
Like the
goodness.
files released. Who knows? Because you've listened.
Yeah.
I mean, who hasn't listened to Sasquatch Chronicles? If you're into it, so you've heard the stories and the reports of the military going in and Black Hawk helicopters and taking out Bigfoot, or
Yeah.
the story of the ones in Nevada that got burned in the wildfire and they got taken away in ambulances. So again, who knows if it really happened? I mean, there's credible people that have said it happened. There's multiple witnesses to it, but who knows? The
Mm,
biggest mystery is like, to the government side, is like, why are they keeping it secret? And
that's the thing, my dude.
like why?
Yeah. If
It's
it's not a big
and
deal, then why even like come on, you know?
yeah.
Oh,
And then that dabbles into the whole like national park, the missing 411, that thing. That's why I brought that up. Is like then those missing cases come into question. And so
right.
I don't know, the idea of them releasing that could flip a lot of things to
Mm,
who knows what people would do. I mean, I've
yeah.
heard some podcasts where some people think as soon as Bigfoot is labeled or comes out as an actual real being, that's when whole society will crumble, because there's a lot of different things that go into not just Bigfoot, but
Well, so here's the thing. So it's like everyone's the way they think is going to have to change big time, no matter what
hmm
it is.
hmm
And then it's like, okay, what are we gonna? And we'll just leave this statement here, I guess. But it's like, does half of the woods of the U.S. become a reserve?
yeah,
Like,
protected. Hey, don't go in there. There's giant apes.
yeah,
There's these running around. I mean,
I'm sure the logging company is real happy for that
yeah,
to happen. So,
yeah.
it's
There's
wild,
a
man.
lot would happen. So
Yeah, a lot would happen. But
yeah,
yeah, that's an
when
interesting answer, though. It is what it is for sure.
oh yeah, that yeah. I can't come up with anything better because I'm so all over the board with it. Um,
If you were to make your like, let's say, uh, a team of Mike is making a Bigfoot research weekend, and I want these people to come with me,
oh,
and they're researchers that are live right now. Who would you want? Like, pick a few researchers to go
oh
with you.
my gosh,
There's a lot that are
there's so
right
many.
now.
Oh, the list. It's not even a list of names. It's a list of groups.
Oh yeah,
That's the worst part. It's like there's so many awesome groups. I would love to go out to the woods with Alex Petrikov.
Alex
Um,
totally. Yep.
he even some of his videos, the bushcraft side of it, like
Dude, me too.
how he
Yes,
does the yeah. I
it's
mean, he doesn't
he needs to do more of that. It's so good.
yeah, yeah, I love that. I was watching that one morning and I was just like, he's doing a bow drill, like like
So
starting a
good.
fire in the woods with the it's just I really enjoyed that. I thought that was fascinating, like just super cool that not only is he teaching Bigfoot stuff, but he's also
Yep,
teaching another very, very, very helpful
for sure.
in the woods tool. Um, so Alex, Tate, Tate seems like just a lot of fun to be out there with.
It's
All
wild.
the episodes of
Oh
being
yeah.
down like this, the Okalala. Oh gosh,
I
I'm
haven't
skipping on
I
the
haven't
name. It
watched
just
that
came
one yet,
out.
but it
I
looks
know.
hilarious.
Yes. Oh, they're all just so good. And then what was it? The swamp grass when they were out there, and then the
Mm,
Satanists or whatever were in the campground. It's just
they've had
like,
a few of
can you
yeah.
these experiences? Gosh, that's just you want to be. I don't know. Most people don't want to be there, but I just I'm
I'd be
weird.
with them for sure. It'd be a crazy adventure.
It
But
would
yeah,
be. So Tate, Alex, oh gosh, Mark Matsky from Small Town Monsters,
it's cool,
because
dude.
he seems like just a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, I agree.
He's everything I've looked or I've watched him in. He just has so much to say. Um, and they're small town monsters. We got
Yeah, that's true.
we got it's just,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Then we got Shane Corson, Derek Randalls. I want to learn from them everything I can.
Oh yeah.
They've been super open and welcoming. There's oh my gosh, I got to think of his name. Tanner from Western. Oh no, Pacific Northwest Bigfoot Search. That's it. Tanner from Pacific Northwest
Oh,
Bigfoot Search. He's
so
on Instagram.
familiar.
Yeah, so he's part of. All I know them from is on Instagram. But when I first moved up here, I reached out to like the PNW, Josh on the PNW maps and stuff, and they spun me off to Tanner, and Tanner, he actually gave me a lot of the red dots for my dartboard for the first
Oh,
trip.
okay, yeah, nice.
He was like, yeah, we heard vocalizations over here. There was a sighting over here up near Rush Creek. There's a lot going on up there. So he was a huge help. And that's another one is I'm hoping to be able to. He's I think over in Portland, Oregon. So
Nice.
I'm hoping he's close. There's another one I just listened to. Cliff Barrickman, Cliff and Bobo's Beyond Bigfoot, or Bigfoot and Beyond. Reggie Bird, Wes Summerlin's grandson. I'm skipping on the first name.
Oh
But
yeah,
I just listened to that one, and both of them are over in the Blues, which is that way, which is like an hour and a half, 2 drive. So they're close.
That's doable, man. A lot of people
Yeah.
are listening to this and be like, Mike, an hour and a half to 2 hours, and you can be to the Blues. Make it happen, you know?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Some people are saying, but I get it. I get it.
I know. I was actually planning to go out Sunday, Monday, Tuesday this weekend to the Blues because it's like September. I drove to Mount Saint Helens area.
Oh, cool.
Again, just being in that volcanic area is just.
It's got to be crazy.
I saw some documentaries about that eruption. That must have been
wild. The whole.
Oh my god!
Just like
the landslide. God,
Mike,
my gosh.
Let's finish. Already we're close to the end, which is wild.
What?
But I know it's just like let's end with this. So think of what are maybe a few let's say if there's people that are listening to this, they're like, oh, I want to get into like Bigfoot research and going out and looking. What are some maybe practical advice you have for people that are new to all this, wanting to go out and look for themselves or for Bigfoot?
I hope that this doesn't blow up a lot of the people that I've spoken about phones or Instagrams, but like, don't be nervous to reach out to people.
Yeah.
Because
the
like, I think Shane Corson was the first big person to just be like, I mean, literally that first response he sent back, here's my number.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And I was mind blown. And my wife will tell you, I was like a kid in a pet shop. I mean, I was like, oh my God, I got to get my headphones. And I mean, I was just through the roof excited to be able to talk to Shane. So don't be nervous, ask questions, be humble just be open to being taught, be open to people criticizing your stuff. There was actually a picture I took of a goat with a broken neck, and random thing I found up in Bluff Creek area, but posting that online,
wow,
all of the feedback, positive and negative, was great because of the learning aspect. People were spouting off things that I'd never even thought of, or like didn't even cross my mind. So that was awesome. Like, ask questions, be open, be teachable. I would advise against going too hardcore into the books.
Interesting. Are there any particular books you might recommend for newbies though?
I would go for the old timer, the John Green, Renee DeHinden, all of those books because I mean, I'm one for history, so I love those books.
Right.
But the new ones, it's all there's a few that stick out to me. So Where Bigfoot Walks, that was fantastic because that book, not only is it a Bigfoot book, but it's a story about this guy that just
Mhm.
takes off for a month in October, which is not really the time you want to take off into the Dark Divide. He just takes, but that's the time he had. Takes off on this hike, and he's a lepidopterist, so he's into butterflies.
Oh, yep, yep.
So his main journey was to go discover new species of butterflies. Along the way, he saw a footprint. He heard noises at night. Bigfoot sort of trickled into his adventure through the Dark Divide. He met forest people or the loggers that would be all aggressive and everything. I mean, it's just a fantastic book. It's not just Bigfoot, but you're along for the ride. Um, Ken Gerhardt's Field Guide to
So good.
yeah. I mean,
So
just
good.
sort of the field guidey books. You can latch on to two or three and then go from there.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
because I have this giant bookshelf of books, and I'm just gonna say this. It's ridiculous how much money I've spent on books the past year alone, just getting into the Bigfoot stuff. But I've read five, and those are the. I
Gotcha.
mean, the Bluff Creek project,
Oh
Where
yeah.
Bigfoot Walks, um, Field Guide to Bigfoot, the oh my gosh, I'm skipping on it. Jeffrey Meldrum's book,
Oh, Sasquatch.
Sasquatch, Legend Turn, yeah,
Legend means science. Yeah.
Legend Meets Science.
Yeah.
That one took me a while. That one and the Bluff Creek Project, those ones they took me a while. But there's once you have that base history and that much knowledge, everything else sort of starts sounding repeated, if that makes sense. And that's what my bookshelf now is like turned into, is more than half of it is all like repeat info. It's great to have the books. Some of them are um the nope, that's a ghost book. None of them are autographed, but I
That's us. Nope. It's a ghost.
it's like I have my Bigfoot shelf and then I have my ghost shelf, and the ghost
Oh,
shelf is
okay.
dwindling down and the Bigfoot shelf is dwindling
Oh,
out. And
nice. Yeah, it's going off the ghost
I
books.
have some of Ed and Lorraine Warren's books,
Oh,
and
geez.
like the first editions. So it's like, yeah,
Wow.
some ghost books
That's
I'm
wild.
keeping, but it's like John Green's On the
Yep.
Trail
Nice.
of
Nice.
Bigfoot. I have that original 19. I
Wow.
don't want to quote the year because I'll get it wrong. But
Yeah, some people.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's like a newspaper,
It's
the
wild.
material of the sheet, and it's in a dust jacket, and I'm like, I don't even
Oh
want to
boy.
touch
Yeah.
it.
Ugh, yeah.
So there's a couple prized possessions, but it's really, I mean, learn it, go out and do it. I hear a bunch that says don't go out alone. If you know your stuff, just have faith in yourself. Know your limits. That's the
That's
biggest
number
thing.
one. Know your limits.
Know your limits. I went backpacking in Australia for a month.
Oh wow.
I flunked out of college, and that's where I wound up going. And so I know that I could handle myself out in the woods, and that's why I go out in the woods alone. Like
Jeez.
I prefer being alone. It's me, the birds, the squirrels, and Sasquatch.
I love it. Oh, Mike, that's some good advice and some a solid book list for the new peeps out there. But thank you so much for hanging out, Mike.
Of course, thanks
How
for
can
having me, man.
people keep up to date with what you're doing with your future Bigfoot adventures, all that?
I would say the best thing and the one that I keep up most to date with is the Instagram.
Okay.
Um, yeah, Instagram, Mike Casey, Bigfoot Hunter. I think that's what it is. No, Squatch
The
Mike. What am I
Squatch Mike.
saying? This
Yeah,
is
because
like,
I always
hold
think
up.
of The Office when I read
That
you.
was the Facebook. Yeah, no,
No,
Squatch Mike.
I'm Squatch.
That's the Instagram.
Yeah.
That has, I mean, wintertime got a little slow on the Bigfoot realm, so there's
Right.
a lot of pictures of my kids on there, but it's like Bigfoot themed pictures and
Nice.
Kong themed pictures. So
Good stuff.
I hope people come along for the ride because I do hope to get out there soon and a lot. I hope to meet a bunch of people and
That's awesome.
I'm so excited to be in this community. Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you so much for coming on, Mike. Mike's going to hang out for a little bit longer in the after show portion for the Patreon. If you want to be part of that for future episodes, you can just go to patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society and help support the podcast that you love listening to every weekend.
Do it.
And get yourself an amazing mug like Mike has from Etsy. So,
Yeah.
all right. Thanks all for listening. And thanks, Mike, for hanging out.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Bigfoot Society podcast. Please take a few minutes to review the show on iTunes, 5 stars, as it does help us get into the eyes and ears of more listeners on iTunes. That will help us just get bigger and bigger and get even better quality guests for future shows. Also, if you have any Bigfoot encounters or cryptid encounters, please send your stories and audio and photos, whatever you've got, over to bigfootsociety@gmail.com. If you'd like to become more involved with Bigfoot Society and get some extra content, we do have a Patreon where you can get all sorts of cool things. For example, for $7 a month, you get extra Bigfoot Society content, usually interviews, but other things as well. You get a sweet membership card and a vinyl sticker that I send to you in the mail. You get access to the Bigfoot Society after show, which is an extra interview after the main interview with the weekly guest, and usually they are up for Patreon members to be in that extra show segment with them and me, and you get to ask your question live to them and get an answer from the guest, which, as you've seen what guest we've had in the past, this could be a really big deal. There's also a private Discord where you can get involved with talking to me one-on-one and the community there, and that's always a great time. You can find the Patreon at www.patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society. We're very thankful for all our supporters that we have in so many different ways, and appreciate all our listeners coming back week after week to listen to more cryptozoology-based interviews. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. The views and opinions expressed are those of the guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Bigfoot Society. Any content provided by our guests are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone. Thank you.